Why, hello there YouTube and welcome to a Who review. I am Davros and I am a Whovian, and today I review Doctor Who, The War Games in colour. So this originally aired back in 1969, where it was 10 episodes long, 25 minutes each, aired over 10 weeks, and then on Monday the 23rd of December 2024, they recolorized it, digitally remastered it, added some new scores to it, and cut it all down into an hour and a half, and aired on BBC4. So in this, the Doctor, Jamie and Zoe find themselves in, at first they think is World War One, but then find out that there's various different time zones or different historical wars throughout history, including Romans, the American Civil War, and then the Doctor finds out that in the center of all these time zones are, a group of Time Lords doing experiments and playing, as they say, war games, all led by the War Chief, who then is only the henchman to the real big bad of this story, and that is the Warlord. And of course, the Doctor, realizing he's out of his depth, he has to summon help from his own people, the Time Lords, but isn't lucky enough to get away from them, where after the Warlord stands trial and is erased from existence, the Doctor is on trial of his own, where they accept his plea that there is evil out there in the universe and that he still has a part to play in that role, and they decide to exile him to Earth in the 20th century in a new body. So that's the story there, whilst Jamie and Zoe are sent home to their time zones and only remember their first encounter with the Doctor. So that's the story there. So what did I like about this one? Well, I watched this in its original layout. See, I bought the DVD years ago and I watched it, 10 episodes, black and white, with its current effects, and I can't see why they cut it down to an hour and a half. See, back in 1969, I don't think anyone's attention span were very limited. These days, in this day and age, we people have very limited, attention spans when it comes to watching TV, as we're glued to our devices a lot of the time. So I feel cutting all the 10 episodes down and cramming them into an hour and a half worked for a good majority of it. So you could watch it all in one night. Excuse me. Also, looking back when I watched the War Games in its original setting, I watched it in 2 days because there were that many episodes and they were on 2 separate discs on the DVD. And looking back now, I kind of do remember the War Games being a little bit of a chore to watch. I mean, there's a lot of slow pacing, some episodes where it's just all filler and not much happens at all. So yeah, I like that they cut it down and kept the essential bits in there that we should see, all the actiony bits and stuff and that. However, there were a few moments in there where if you haven't seen the original cut, you would think, okay, how did he get out of that pickle? What's he doing there? There are bits that are like cut where you find, if you didn't see the original cut, you'll be like wondering what's going on here, where did that come from? So that's probably a little negative there, but again, I like that it was only 90 minutes and they cut it down. I also like the colorization. It looked like 1960s colour TV, even though this was shot in black and white. The effects and that being touched up. The digital effects, especially when they're on Gallifrey, we actually see the outskirts of Gallifrey and the Citadel, which I liked the look of, modern effects, and also, remastered colorization. Also, I can't forget the performances. Patrick Troughton was great as always as the Doctor, playing his role, which was the last time for him. And he, also with it being colorized, I did notice a few flaws, like his trousers changing, his handkerchief in his pocket slightly changing colors, different shades of red. I noticed that in color, but I probably did not in black and white. But still, I did think it worked in black and white, and you can still watch it in black and white on iPlayer and stuff. But yeah, this was like a nice Christmas treat, something to get us riled up for Joy to the World on Christmas Day. And also I liked Wendy Padbury as Zoe and Frazer Hines as Jamie in their final outing with Patrick Troughton's Doctor. They did, however, reunite in a Tales of the TARDIS episode where they reminisced about the, what was it now? The Mind Robber. Yeah. I also thought the War Chief. Now, in this cut, they updated it with updated scores from classic and modern Who. Now, the War Chief, when he was about, they tend to play the Masters theme, particularly the Saxon Masters theme. That that theme. And in one scene, they did play like the classic Delgado Master theme. And when the War Chief got killed, because he got killed in the original cut, when the War Chief got killed, and as they dragged his body away, we did hear the sounds of regeneration. So I'm thinking, is this their way of saying, yeah, he is the Master? Because I never thought of the War Chief as the Master. I always felt like he was a prototype Master. I get where Terrance Dicks came up with the idea for the Master with Robert Holmes. This was also co-written by Terrance Dicks as well. But yeah, could they have said, yeah, you know what, he is the Master, he's officially the Master, given that he knows the Doctor, etc., and that it'd have been cool if they maybe did a little visual effect of him turning into Delgado, but they never did show that. But again, I like to think, are they keeping it open that he is actually in fact the Master? That's what I'm wondering now, and I think a lot of us who watched it that night are wondering. The War Chief was an interesting villain, but he appeared more than halfway into the story, and was the one running the operation. We had other side villains as well in this. We also, see the Time Lords and more updated effects and stuff. But also, we actually, for the first time ever, because in 1969 it was an off-screen transition, we finally see Patrick Troughton physically regenerate into Jon Pertwee's third Doctor. Now, this visual effect was so well done, and you could tell it was deep faked and fan made, and that's what it was. The actual regeneration scene there was, in fact, made by a Doctor Who fan. Their channel called the Confession Dial, where they did a reconstruction of the second Doctor's regeneration with modern updated effects. I believe the BBC was clearly impressed by that and wanted them on board to add to that and put their regeneration in there. So the fact that it was done by fans was, brilliant, and I actually thought that was pretty cool. And how the effects for that, how they made it look so almost convincing, how it inserted Jon Pertwee's face at the very end, and how it ties in with Spearhead from Space, where we first see the third Doctor stagger out of the TARDIS and collapse. It was just wow. And maybe you could even go and then watch the the remastered cut of Spearhead from Space. But yeah, the fact that the BBC actually wanted a fan and put their actual fan-made regeneration in there was brilliant. Also, the scene where the Time Lords give the Doctor his choice of what he gets to look like, in the original cut they were just rough sketches of individual people, but in this we actually saw again updated visuals again, where it's this future incarnation. So when he goes, oh no, he's too old, it's Peter Capaldi, or goes, oh that one's too thin, it's David Tennant, and goes, oh he's too young, and it's Matt Smith, oh that won't do at all, and it shows Jodie Whittaker. I actually like that as well. I really did. Even though I knew it was all fan made, it was so brilliantly done, and I really liked that. It was a good way of redoing the war games and retelling it and stuff, and I actually enjoyed watching it. It was a good hour and a half, and you know what? I wasn't even distracted by my phone or anything like that. I actually sat and watched the serial made into a 90-minute feature, and you know, yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed watching it, and just like when they redid the Daleks in color, they like edited that into like a feature special and colorized it. But I actually think this was slightly better than the Daleks in color. Yeah. So yeah, I think I've gone on enough now. But also, a few negatives I will say is sometimes the scores that they added into it are sometimes a bit too loud. Sometimes I feel like you can't actually hear what the characters are saying, and we're a bit off-putting in some parts. With the modern updated scores and stuff and musics that they put into it. But other than that, it was a good re-edited cut of the classic serial, The War Games, and we now see that Patrick Troughton did in fact regenerate into John Pertwee's third Doctor in that serial at the end. Because like I say, in 1969 it was an off-screen transition because the BBC had no intentions of renewing Doctor Who back then, but they ended up doing so anyway with John Pertwee because Troughton had no interest in returning, and they did explain that they're changing him. So anyway, ratings. Let's get to that. The performances, I'll give them a 9. The writing, in this cut, I will give the writing an 8. The visuals, particularly, I'm going by the updated ones, I'll give them an 8, and my personal, I'll give it an 8. So yeah, Doctor Who: The War Games in colour, yes. So if you not a huge fan of 60s Doctor Who because it's black and white and you have pacing issues, then definitely check this out. I believe it's all on iPlayer now. But if you're outside the UK, I'm sorry, but I don't know how it's available or where it's available for you lot. But yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's it for this Who review. So yeah, what did you think to this cut of the War Games? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know all that down in the comments below. If you like this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up, share with your friends, and feel free to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and to hit that notification bell. I have been Davros the Whovian, and this has been a Who review. So, until next time, run for your life.